Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, Sir Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Dragon me. Ho, ho, ho.
And
Sorry, I've lost my mask. I don't know where it's gone. Sorry.
And we're here to talk about the finale of Star Trek Lower Decks, called The New Next Generation. And because it's a big episode, because it's the finale, we're not doing another episode at the same time. What we're going to do instead is just have a bit of a Christmas game that Dr. Squee has devised. But first, we're here to see out Lower Decks, and I'll start by saying I thought it did it very, very well.
It did. And can I just say something to address the fandom menace straight off the bat?
Oh, here we go.
Because there's been a load of stupidity on the internet this last week, saying that certain shows of Star Trek no longer exist because of one little clip, which is absolute bollocks. They've been on TV, they are canon, full stop. It doesn't matter if you like it, love it, hate it. Doesn't matter your opinion of the shows. They've been on TV. They are canon. They happened. We've all watched them. Full stop.
I agree.
Yep. I'll co-sign that.
And we'll obviously touch on the moment that you're alluding to very shortly, but
I'll also say, I mean,
so
like at the end of the day, if it comes from the fandom menace, let's just assume it's inaccurate in any given way.
It is. It's just been really annoying.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the show that they don't like Discovery.
But there are,
But it's absolute nonsense. The show ended nearly a year ago now, and they're still going on about it. It's like they must really have watched a lot of that show. How much they don't like it.
Well, it's like it's that thing of like when the person who hates it twice as much as the people who love it. It's
yeah. To be fair, they talk about it,
and it is sort of an ongoing thing in lots. True. It's sort of an ongoing thing in lots of different fandoms. Like you had for years, you had people saying, "Oh, they're going to retcon the Star Wars prequels and get rid of them, and it's going to be fine. They're going to redo them." And now that they've decided that the prequels were great and they hate the sequels, it's the same thing again. "Oh, they're going to retcon the sequels out. Don't worry, they're going to be gone." It's right. Not. You might not like.
They're going to make another trilogy, and they'll all fall in love with the sequels and hate the new trilogy. We know the modus operandi now. This is what happens all the time.
It is. But yeah, let's get into the moment we're talking about then, because it's one of the first things that happens.
Well, I was just going to say my broad views, as you guys have. Just, basically, yeah. I'm going to say what I've said a lot during this season as we've been talking about it, and it's like it's been about the character development for me. I like the fact that generally Lower Decks kind of slowly builds character development, but it's mainly the same kind of same idea. We can like someone's not that different at the end of an episode usually than the beginning. They can learn little bits as they go along, but this season they've kind of really shown where they were always going to. They really trust each other. Like there's a few times where they just go, it's like, "Oh, I thought you were going to give me some shit about that." It's like, no, trust you, you're great. And it's just it's so nicely timed how they've done that, and it's been great this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this episode, and it is really good. So it starts with the Klingons, and the rift that we know of from the previous episode opens. And this is the moment that sparked all the silly discourse online, because the Klingon ship gets caught up in the wave, and it turns into a Discovery Klingon ship, and we see a Klingon turn into a Klingon, a Discovery Klingon. And so this has led some people to say, well, that rift, Discovery Season 1 Klingon, yes. And that's led some people to say, well, that rift is changing things into things from other universes, so therefore it's definitively saying that Discovery is not in the Prime universe. And the council later in the episode changes, like, for example, the Cerritos into a Sovereign class ship, which Sovereign class ships exist in this universe. So it's reasonable to assume that Discovery Klingons do exist in other universes as well as the Prime one. But they haven't.
The silly thing is,
they have interviewed Mike McMahon. Go on.
I was going to say, the silly thing about this is the jumps on. It says Season 1 Discovery Klingons, so they can't be Prime Universe. But if you use that logic, you've got we're seeing a birth class, so Star Trek 3 didn't happen. We get a Sovereign class, so First Contact through to Nemesis didn't happen. We get it just gets silly, the amount of things that you have.
And I thought it was really nice to have Lower Decks get to do a little more to Discovery to do a show which they don't usually get to play with, if nothing else, just for like the fact that it is something different, it is something kind of new. You can bring in at the 11th hour, makes it kind of really exciting in the last episode to do it then. I think it's just great.
Let's be honest here. The creators said they made a mistake with what they did with the Klingons in Season 1 of Discovery. And they did retconning it, and they corrected it for Season 2, and we've got to go along with it that there was X, Y, Z. It doesn't.
They shaved their hair because of war, of course.
Yeah, which is okay. They've retconned it. I have no. It's happened, but it's fine. Lower Decks is still acknowledging the fact that we had Klingons that looked like that at a time. It's a bit like when the Klingons that we had in the original series didn't have all the ridges. So now that all the Klingons have got ridges, so we're saying the original series isn't canon, which is where it gets to be absolute nonsense.
One thing I would say is I think it's I mean, obviously it's absolutely nonsense that there's a problem that it's the Disco Klingons, but it's I just don't get why they're so bothered about it. That it's like just imagine it was like, if you really want to imagine it's from a universe where the Klingons had those ships, but they did them really well in the makeup. I mean, it's like it's just so kind of silly to get worked up over this, and
it is,
and I've got more arguments to make. Anyway, come.
It's
with Mike McMahon. Yeah, Mike McMahon has said that he knew putting this in that it would spark this conversation. So he is having a bit of fun with it as well. He's not unaware that it would trigger certain people. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And like you say, if they follow the logic, like I've seen some people saying, it means that Discovery doesn't exist and Picard doesn't exist and Lower Decks doesn't exist. Not Lower Decks. What's the other? Strange New Worlds doesn't exist. And they're saying this like it's a good thing, and it's like, well, so why does only Lower Decks exist? And if Strange New World, if Discovery doesn't exist, so Strange New Worlds doesn't exist.
But we've had a Lower Decks.
Strange New Worlds did a crossover with Lower Decks, so therefore Lower Decks doesn't exist.
So it is. It's just ludicrous.
That's what I mean. So therefore, that would take Lower Decks out of canon, which would mean that the Discovery's back in because Lower Decks wasn't there to erase it. So
it's nonsense. It really is. You've basically got a group of people who aren't happy that we've got new Trek. They don't want new content.
Well, the thing that I say about Doctor Who applies here, when a show which you love, if your favorite show is 50, 60 years old, it's not what you're always going to be what you love about the show in it. Sometimes it's going to hit a point where it just doesn't jive with what you think. I think we all here are lucky enough that none of the shows have been, so there's any of the shows we don't like, but that might happen at some point. And if it does, so be it. That I've got all the other Star Trek to watch, and it doesn't make it not canon just because I don't like it.
Exactly.
It's sometimes things are just going to go against what you like it, but it doesn't make it not Star Trek or not Doctor Who or whatever else.
I've said lots of times, I really did not enjoy season 4 of Discovery.
Yeah,
and I think I've got valid for it, but I'm also fully aware that it was on TV and it's canon and it happened.
And while we're on the ships, I did love the line about, hey, how come their ship isn't changing? Oh, I'm sure it is. They've just kept them looking like that, like the weird bird-ass things all the time. It was such a great nod to how much they use that model, including things back-to-back and set in different generations.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite thing about the bird of prey model is that when they used it in the original series films, it was slightly smaller, but more or less the same size as the Enterprise A. And then they use it in TNG, and it's about the same size as the Enterprise D. And it's like, okay, so they must just really like that design and just make it bigger.
Scale it
when
up.
And sometimes they make it smaller.
Anyway.
Also, I just want to say, I also thought having that joke in there was really cool because where Lower Decks over the series has kind of moved a bit more away from like the episodes which were so dense with reference here, there, and everywhere, and they've done different things, which has all been good. But it sort of started off as a very Star Trek self-referential, almost kind of like spoofing places of the show. And so to have like that line about the killing birds of prey all looking the same, I just thought was kind of going back to its roots. Like it doesn't do that throughout the episode, but there's a couple of little zingers like that, which are kind of fun to revisit that.
Yeah, there is. And so then we cut to the Cerritos, and we come in just before Boimler gets his message. And we get this exchange with Shax. Now, the doctor says, like, ooh, do you want to come and play Dirty Treasure Island or whatever it is on the holodeck? And he says, only if I can be Long John, and then it bleeps it out. Do we think he said Long John Fucker, or my preferred option, which is just Long John Fuck?
I thought fucker. That's what came to my mind because I did the same thing. I was like, that sounds like fucker that length of time for the bleep. But
I was trying. I'm not
the best
sure
pun.
what it is, but it wasn't the best.
I think it fits because fucker sounds more like silver, but I just like the slightly abstract nature of Long John Fuck.
Long John fill her.
Maybe, but they wouldn't have had to be. They wouldn't have had to.
It almost matches silver. Fill her silver.
Maybe.
It stands better than fucker, is all I'm saying.
It could be Long John Fuck her.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
Oh, sorry, I thought you said fill her.
Oh no, I did say fill her. Sorry, you're right.
There we go. Anyway, answers on a postcard as to what swear word Shax had bleeped out.
Or any punch which might match it.
Yes. And then Rutherford, we set up a little bit of an arc for Rutherford in this episode where he seems like he's falling out of love with the Cerritos. And this sort of ties into what we're going on with his implant. And we really went to town on this the other week. We're saying, maybe the implant will pick up things from another dimension and maybe it'll be the the
That was
Borg
me,
one
maybe.
and blah blah blah. But no, they actually went for something a lot simpler with it, which leads to a
And better.
nice payoff at the end of the episode. Oh yeah, well, of course it's better. That's why we
It was-
sit here talking about Star
Well,
Trek and they write it.
And we're
I
not-
thought ours
yeah.
was a decent pitch, but theirs was better. But no, I love it. It's the amount that line hits when he goes, "I think I'm falling out of love with Cerritos." It hits like Scotty saying he's falling out of love with the Enterprise. Like it's that level of love of a ship.
Yeah.
And you know, I think Geordie's the only one who we broadly suspect is actually trying to fuck the engines, but that's another story. I just think he's a very lonely man.
Yeah,
He's always kind of like talking about, "Oh, I can never get one. The only woman I can get is the Enterprise." Everyone going home for the night.
Geordie's just, I mean, yeah, we won't. That'll derail the episode.
Anyway,
but
but it was that. I think that's a testament to the show that they've built up that love affair, and he's just such a kind of like enthusiastic ball of joy, and he just loves his ship, and it's just beautiful. But that broke my heart, just having that line going, I think I'm falling out of love with the Cerritos. Like, no, you can't do that to us. Not on this episode.
Yeah. And then we go back to the Klingon brothers. I didn't expect to see them again, but they're welcome in this episode, and they play an important part.
Yeah.
In that, what they do is bring in sort of like the main antagonist, which I actually misheard a name the first time. I thought they said Grilka, and I thought, oh, is it the one who Quark married? And I thought that it was sort of a deep cut to that, but I think it's actually Grelga, so it's not her. And yeah, so that brings in them, and they're going to cause trouble a little bit later on.
We had the breathing right at the beginning.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, we get it's
sorry,
the first of the moments you were talking about where they go and tell Captain Freeman, and they're really, this is Boimler and Mariner, and they're really surprised when she says, "Yep, we need to do something about it. I trust you. I take your word for it. You're two of my best officers."
But there's a couple of really nice lines. First of all, I love the fact that they get to have that briefing like the Enterprise would get. You recognize that scene from the Enterprise getting these top level kind of like you're going into the action, and them going say, "Oh, so the Enterprise is coming, brilliant." I thought for a second they were going to give it to us. No, you're getting it, fuckers. It was just great. And there was the
that was good fun.
They were saying, usually we'd shoot it with a gluier pulse. I swear it was called gluier. I swear that was a joke about gluing it back together.
Yeah,
which is just great. And you've got the Schrodinger's field, which, when we see it in a minute, had some very Nexus type vibes, I thought, to it. There was like NG rooms going through it.
Yeah, the look of it, definitely. In terms of what it does, though, it's basically that episode of Red Dwarf. I think it's called Out of Time, the last episode of Series 6, where... they have to fly to it's like a space station, but around it is this field that creates unreality pockets, and you more or less have exactly the same scene. Like in Red Dwarf, they're flying along and they sort of go whoop and jump, and then in 1 minute they can't remember who Cat is, and then another minute I forget something. They've
got animal heads in one of them.
Animal heads in one of them. Yes.
They're listed as a droid
and a mechanoid. Yes.
Mechanoid.
So it's the same conceit, but again, it's done really, really well, really fun, and that's pretty much.
The only thing I was going to just check in on that is that. I like it. I love it, and it's perfect for lower decks. But it's like I think it's one of the rare occasions in Star Trek where I don't think there's any logical science behind like switching the state of your thing to the thing of the universe. That's I think that's just fun. But it's like I think that suits lower decks very well. But it kind of made me think that it's like it's one of those rare times when I couldn't think of a scientific link in Star
Yeah,
Trek.
like you say, they do give you the technobabble explanation, but it's one of those that, yep, this is what we're doing. Let's go with this, and let's have some fun with it.
Yeah, we're sending you how to make a shield to protect yourself, and you have to glue it back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's people who don't know that like the multiverse is a actual scientific theory and everything. You know, a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With I mean, probably that's a lot more awareness these days. But there's loads of these kind of things which just Star Trek throw in there, and a lot of people wouldn't know it's like kind of quite hard science it's based on, or kind of extrapolated from, or they've taken some grain of science from it. But yeah, this just we can change into the matter of whatever universe we're in. That's happening now.
Would original series be the first ones to do an alternate universe story?
Ooh.
I know the original series did the mirror universe, but I mean, out of other shows, were they ahead of everyone else with that?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I'm not. I don't know.
Now we're quite used to multiverse shows and seeing that because of Avengers and Marvel and other stuff. But I'm just trying to think, with the original series did the mirror universe, would that have been a new thing that we hadn't had before?
It feels like it's, I mean, I think you might be right, but it's like, it's an extrapolation on that whole thing of like your darker self. And like you had books and science fiction where they met the darker version themselves. The original It's a Wonderful Life, topical for this time of year. Originally in the script, it was going to be a good George Bailey and a bad George Bailey.
I mean,
out on a bridge as opposed to, so like it's a dark version of people, but yeah.
I mean, effectively, It's a Wonderful Life presents an alternate universe, but it does so because an angel's showing them it as a vision.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not the scientific concept.
And that's the Christmas Carol as well.
Actually, interestingly enough, like with that, because with that case, if they'd gone with the original ending to It's a Wonderful Life with the good and the bad George Bailey, because that bad George Bailey would exist in some reality. They would have done it then, but they didn't.
Yeah, they would have done.
That's really funny to think.
That's a good question. Was it ever done on TV before? I mean, I know Doctor Who predated Star Trek by like 3 years, but I can't think. That's what I was. That's
universes by.
That Pertwee's the first one I can think of that did it explicitly. Yeah.
Otherwise, it was people who looked like them. There was a great one where there was this. It was meant to be this kind of like Spanish lord or something like that, and it's this evil guy, the enemy of the world, and it looks exactly like Patrick Troughton's Doctor Who. So he has to dress up in it, and it was just an excuse so Patrick Troughton could do silly voices because he loved doing them. So it's just a bit of fun for him, and it's outrageous the accent he does. It's so much fun.
Yeah. So the Cerritos goes through changes, then it changes into a freedom class, which has one nacelle, and I like the joke about, well, how do we make a warp field? Because that was Roddenberry's original concept, wasn't it? That they had to have two nacelles and they had to have a clear line of sight to each other, which is why the Romulan warbird is hollow in the middle, so that the warp field can be created, and they did abandon it later.
I do like how Tandis immediately starts explaining it, and Freeman goes, "We haven't got time for you to geek out about this."
And we here also get the only Klingon ship I think pretty much we haven't mentioned so far is when it turns into the barge. Now, I want to bring this up specifically because I think this is actually a really amazing, honorable way to die for a Klingon. Like, this seems like a worthy death. You're in a sailing boat and you're suddenly in space. You are the first, from your perspective, Klingons in space. And that's the way you die? Come on, that's an amazing death. That's
it's like, this is the badge. I thought it was the badge of the dead going.
I thought it was the badge of the dead.
Because I thought it looked like the one that B'Elanna goes on in, I can't remember what episode of Voyager it is, where she's sort of dead but isn't.
I know which one you mean.
Yeah.
But I think
we do see the badge of the dead, And so I think this is great. And I agree with you. I think the Klingons would love it because they're on the way to Stovacor.
Yeah. And the one thing is, so I don't know if that one is Barge of the Dead or not, but I think is it one the Klingon says about? They refer to one of those old barges, so that was a type of ship Klingons used as well, which was really nice.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, the Barge of the Dead thing, I never even thought of that. It's really cool.
And it also turns into the Mirror Cerritos, which is a much more badass warrior-looking version of it.
It's the Mirror Universe version, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is something we didn't know we needed from the Cerritos. Was like a Mirror Universe version, and here we are. We got it. It's great.
It's like I do like when it changes into Sovereign class. It keeps.
This is what we didn't know we needed was a Sovereign class.
But they keep the fronts of the Cerrito and the cells still for the Sovereign class, so you can still tell it was the Cerritos and not just a Sovereign class.
Yeah, it's a color scheme,
which is quite a nice little touch that they keep doing.
See, we didn't know we needed it, but the people from Fanhome, formerly Eagle Moss, who make the little models, they needed it, and I'm sure
they've just got an entire season out of it.
Yeah, they've got another year at least out of this one episode. But yeah, they're great.
Different paints. That's essentially the only difference with the Southern class. No, you have to buy a whole new model, otherwise it doesn't count.
Of course, you have to buy a whole new model.
Oh God, you said in synchronous. You two.
This is a little mini rant now, but I did actually check. So I got an email about we're relaunching the Star Trek collection, blah blah blah. Issue 1 is the USS Titan A. Which means that is not the Enterprise G. You will have to buy the Enterprise G later in the collection, which will be exactly the same model with different lettering on it.
The lovely thing about what is it? What they're called? Polar Lights, who do all the Star Trek models, the models I build.
Yeah.
The Cerritos that I've got on order is in 1 to 1400, which is the same scale as what they did the Enterprise A and the Enterprise D. So you'd be able to take parts and kit bash to be able to build the versions that are in this.
And as soon as we finish this, Elliot's ordering 3 more. And
I know people who will be doing it very quickly.
True.
But it's I just love it when it gets right to the end and then it's like goes to the Sovereign class, and from there goes it's like we become a Sovereign class now. And she goes, well, it'll just have to do. It was just like a lovely line, very swanky.
I will be honest. I am considering buying a second one just so I don't have to open the first one that's in the special packaging to leave it wrapped up forever.
Well, we'll see. Do you want because you're getting it delivered here, are you? Do you want me to guard it so that you don't open it immediately? I will look after it for a week so that you can think carefully about exactly what you're going to do about it, so you don't do anything impulsive.
James, okay, look, I've warned you of the dangers of getting between Elliot and a model, which you should know better than I. But so if anything happens to you, you've just got yourself to blame. Elliot, you're absolved. We know the mania that comes upon you.
So, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much, there's not a lot to say about the plotting of the episode now, because there's character moments and there's bits here and there, but what I mean is in terms of doing it sort of a breakdown of what happens, it's pretty much they fly towards the thing, and that's it.
It's like, it's very typical of Lower Decks in a way. The story of this episode is very, very simple. Here's a mission, go there, fix it. But it's the little bits in between. There's all sorts of different. We're getting to see almost every character that we've had doing a little bit They're all
we get
doing
the
a
moment.
little bit towards solving the mission.
Yeah, they all get the moment.
And it's a little, character moment as well. It's a little like goodbye, like something which really sums them up somehow. There's a wonderful, like, I mean, I love the, one of the ones I've sort of made note about. It's that bit with Boimler and Mariner, and they have the friendship high five. And like in another show, you'd have this whole kind of like arc of kind of them learning to trust each other. And you have had Boimler kind of, we've had lots of fun with that pad and him trying to be like his double. But the resolution doesn't need to be a long drawn out thing. It's just like, this is going to put you in danger. Oh, fuck this then. That's it. But and we've got to show here, like to Elliot's point, we've got to show which is called Lower Decks. It's not named after the ship. It's not named after a person. It's named after their status on the ship. So it makes sense, kind of like that they in the last episode follow, like, like you say, it's like it's about them. It's not about the huge plot line. It's about their journey, and it always has been. That's why it's named for. It is what unites and bonds all of them. But of course, the upper deckers get a little bit each as well. But just that friendship vibe, and it's like, that's it. I don't need a moment to think about it. It's our friendship.
It is. It's great. As soon as she was in danger because of what was in his pad, that's it. The pad's gone. No messing.
Yeah. And Rutherford gets his moment where it's turned back into the Cerritos. Like, these are the best ships for doing mods on. This is perfect.
and he realizes suddenly it's the Cali class is the best.
and again, to this point, it's like the second he realizes that it's like, oh, this is the best ship. I love this ship. The problem is the ship. The problem is my implant. Again, it's not a long drawn out thing of like, oh, I'm thinking about my implant. What should I do? It's like, no, doesn't want me anymore. Ripped off. Done. I love that about the show. It's like when they realize the right thing to do, they don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
And I think it gets that over any Star Trek boss.
Like this, like what we just saw with Mariner and Boimler, that'd be an episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
certainly of Discovery.
This with Rutherford realizing that the problems with his implant and not the ship. That'd be an episode. And he's sort of like, I absolutely love the Cali class. I know I love this class of ship. There's something wrong with. It's not the ship that there must be something wrong with me to be thinking this.
Yeah.
And it's the implant has gone wrong.
Yeah, and we don't need 3 scenes to get there. Or as I say, if it was Discovery, it would probably be a 3-series arc.
Yeah. I would think of doing it and then get bored and never go and address it ever again.
Yeah.
And then we get Tendi and Talin's moment, and I love how they do it. How they, they're 2 of them have the science role, so they actually split the ship, and it's right. We've got 2 versions of the ship, and we need to coordinate.
This just reminded me so much of so many animes and Japanese cartoons. How it was, we've got to join together with the power of science, besties.
Yeah, it was great.
It was just anime, wasn't it?
It was like the effect they did on screen and everything. Yeah. It was. Well, we were Christmas dinner. Before we went to our friend Sorden's Christmas dinner, and his son was watching Dragon Ball Z as we were waiting for Christmas dinner, and it's exactly the sort of thing you'd see in that, where they're charging up the power and all the screen goes crazy in the background. But so that again, another great character moment for them.
And those 2 have been just great this series. It's the fact that kind of Talin, even though we know how good Tendi is, she's got all this self-doubt, and it's almost like having Talin there, never kind of actually doing anything to stoke her self-doubt, but because she's quite neutral, it's almost like it allows her to get her self-doubt out by imagining she's the one who's aiming at her, and then when she realized she isn't, that she's doing it for herself, it's like it allows her to process it. It's kind of quite clever, really, how it works. Because like there's been a few episodes this series where she's had a go at T'Lyn and then realized it was just all about her. And I feel like that character's allowed her to process that shit, and they work just so well together. And T'Lyn wants to learn emotions. She openly chooses them, which, as I've said before, was a lovely twist on the Vulcan thing, because too often they kind of just copy the Spock thing of like, oh no, they don't want to, but they are. It's like, which is good to do something different with that. Oh, can I also? Sorry, I forgot. Sorry, just on Rutherford, I forgot the line. I've never seen anyone engineer that fast. Sorry, that was just a classic.
Yeah, it was the rest of the engineering department, and we were all just so amazed watching him.
Yeah, it's the choice of the word engineer. Like, not I've never seen anyone fix a computer that, but no, I've never seen anyone engineer that fast. Great dialogue.
And by the way, it also proves that they, of course, the big wigs at Star Trek watch this show, and right up until the last moment, they'll make edits just based on what we say the week before. Because if you remember, I was saying about there was an extra who walks past the screen in the Deep Space Nine episode, and they're kind of like moving they're working really fast to try and get Molly. So but as you know, the devices work in certain set ways. Like, you can't just do that and it works the same. It's meant to go slow. So one of the extras was doing this in like a really bad wig and then went off screen. It's like, oh, well, we're engineering fast, so we've got to do that. This felt like, even though there's no way on Zeus's green Earth how this would be, it felt like this was a reference to my joke last week. It was just so weird timing.
And it's good timing you say Zeus, because we get his daughter next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Taking out,
I segued on
shields.
Intended.
And before we get to her, we get Mariner's big moment, where it's her the Klingon sort of says something about damming it up, and then it's right that it is an ensemble show, but Mariner's always been sort of first among equals, if you like, and so it's only right that she should get the moment to finally solve it all after everyone else has had their go. And she resolves it, and again, it's that really simple thing, like, we don't get any real explanation. It's just like, oh, we need to damn it, right, okay, bip 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 bip, and and then we get Lightning Girl does the lightning thing, and it's all great.
And it's the fact that just after they do it, given in all the other shows, like, it just makes me think of like Star Trek 6. You've got them all standing stoically, like as everyone applauses everything. It's all very staid.
Yes.
And that's usually how you deal with it. First thing they do once the Cerritos crew, defeats the bad time portal is go, did we just save the fucking universe? Yeah! Everyone's high-fiving, they're hugging, they're losing their shit. That's how you celebrate saving the universe. You don't go, well done, number one. I'm off to my ready room for a nap. It's like, this is how
it is. Yeah. Did we just save the fucking universe?
Yeah. Enterprise is like, oh, what, the fifth time this Tuesday? Cerritos can enjoy this.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Enterprise, when we...
I was just about to say this one other thing I really like that we got in this episode on Cerritos. We got one final look at Cetaceous Ops.
Yes, we did.
It's going to be... I know there's lots of CGI and we can do things, but I honestly think it's going to be a long time till we see Cetaceous Ops in another episode or series.
I would say so.
Unless it's animated.
Yeah, we've had fun with them in the cartoons, but yeah.
May I also say, for them to be dicking around and joking, first of all, and then to have the last line we hear those dolphins utter is like, that Klingon's hot. Yeah, I noticed. Thank you. Again, I didn't know I needed that, but dolphins want to fuck Klingons, of course. Brilliant. Bring it on. Why not? Yeah, thank you, Star Trek.
Yeah,
the gift keeps giving.
Particularly the Discovery ones, I'm sure. But yeah, talking of the Enterprise, we do earlier in the episode they do say the Enterprise is on the way, and then when we see all the ships, it looks like the Enterprise E is there. It looks like the Titan is there, as well as I think there's an Akira class, which I don't think is one of the hero ships, but it's cool to have them there, you know, even though obviously we don't see the Enterprise crew or the Titan crew, but
we do see the alternate Boimler's Defiant class.
yes, we do.
Run through, get to see that. Like, you know, it's we only just met them last episode, but I was like kind of tearing up, going like, "Oh, good, say goodbye to them." I just met them, you know. It's like because you invest in their prime characters, and they flesh them out so well that you can imagine that Garak and that Bashir, with Garak constantly winding him up to start an argument, which just drives Julian mad, but makes him love him all the more. You know, you can imagine, like, you can write all those backstories to all of them instantly the second you meet them, because that's what Lower Decks does so well, is to just kind of like to get to the essence of what a character is, to show it, whether it's a new character or an alternate reality one or a character we know. It just, they can boil it down really well, and that's how they could do all those dense references early on in the series. Oh, go on, mate.
Oh, no, go on. I was going to move on to sort of how the land lies right at the end, so go on.
Well, there was just one which we missed a little bit, which was Ransom's moment, like, to shine, when he's the one who's been hiding the guy. He manages to show off his abs, like, it's like, because he's holding the Klingon back, and of course he's always making workout jokes, so it's like, for that to be the way he saves the day is just by like good core strength. It's just extremely him. And it leads towards the end, which I'm not going to say yet, because of course we'll save that to the end, but it's like, it fits very nicely with how the episode wraps up.
And we've got a comment from Me No Other. Welcome to the show. And says, Enterprise, the Titan, a Parliament class. That's the one. I got the name wrong. Sorry. And the Cerritos. So the way it's left, then this actually is a big thing within the Star Trek cosmos, is that we've got a permanent dimensional gate.
Yes. I want to discuss
that is ripe for mining stories out of, and I suppose the problem with us jumping so much around the timeline with our different shows is that this gate was there all the way through Picard, unless it gets destroyed, all the way through Prodigy, and presumably he's still there in future Discovery. I mean,
if I may do a pitch, because like I'm going to tie this in with another thing which happens just after it, but we discover what's happening to Mariner next. To Freeman, next in a second.
Freeman,
and there was something about her being put over to the station, being I reckon, like, did they say she got promoted to Admiral or not? Or is she still captain?
I don't think they did specifically.
Captain. Okay, I'm picturing she gets promoted to Admiral, like, for a stellar work around this kind of this thing. And they've also got the fact that this thing exists still. And like you say, and one of my first thoughts was, that's just bonkers. That's always there, and it's never referenced, and it's never, that's just not realistic. I think this is the setup for the first of the movies. It just seems so perfect that she's there guarding it. It's something we know can't really exist, in the future.
Yeah.
And a good reason to bring them back together. So I think you also bring the Defiant. Well, just because I wanted to have that Defiant class ship back with those.
Yeah,
we've got a load of comments here, so I'll fire them off really quickly because it all goes one after another. It's all from Me No Other. So this is the last mission before Picard helps the Romulan evacuation. Which makes sense, so that we've still got the Enterprise E.
Yeah.
Does this cause something there? Does this?
Yeah. So we've got Prodigy Season 1 showed how Worf damaged the Enterprise E. This is why we can have the Enterprise E here, because this is just before all them events happened.
Yeah.
And Prodigy takes place after Lower Decks, which we knew it does. Not a lot after, but it does happen after.
It does, yeah. So yeah, the status quo in the Alpha Quadrant has been shook up somewhat, but as you say, Squee, I have a feeling we will come back to this in some form or another.
Yeah.
And then we finish with, we don't get Tendi and Rutherford together, but they do have that lovely moment. So
I think we're seeing the birth of it there, though. I think that's
maybe, yeah.
I wanted to see it, but then the way they did it is like he goes like, "Oh, this is really difficult." It's like, I didn't know you were romantic. No, we're just friends. Oh, my mistake. It just seems like the moment.
The blush was brilliant,
and without the implant, it allows him to truly feel it. I think this is just before their first day. I think this is what the trigger moment is, that everyone will remember. It's like, oh, we all knew it was going to happen when, and this is it.
And then Boimler and Mariner both get made provisional first officers, which means they get to sit either side of the newly promoted Captain Ransom, which it's a great place to leave those two characters, but it doesn't rule out revisiting it and having a hell of a lot of fun with that status quo once if and when we come back to it. So I like that.
Oh, it was the fact that it's like the first thing Mariner says, like, "Oh, don't fucking do this to our friendship."
Yeah,
it's like it kind of is almost fourth wall breaking at the same time, because it's like it is doing that thing of like, it's this is a classic setup for a plot where we're going to bicker, so like, don't do this because we've that. We've done character development, don't make us go back to that. So it's kind of just really it is really lovely. And I do also love this something about you see it earlier on in the episode where Ransom says about kind of workouts and stuff. I feel like you see how much he's evolved as well, and how he kind of feels like he's ready to be the captain.
Yeah.
I don't think earlier series him would have fit as the captain, but everything they've shown of him, all the ways in which he's grown, and like he's palling around with the crew, you get a vibe of how his interaction is going to be with them. He's going to have fun with them and engage in maybe a different way to how Freeman did, and it's just great. And then of course he ends it on a pun which gives them fodder to take the piss. It's like engage.
Now that he's the captain, of course he gets the catchphrase "engage the core," and it's they have fun with that as well. It's like, that can't be your catchphrase. Nope, too late. That's it now. And
you don't want to end on a pun like this. There's something like that. It's
it's a great ending.
There's even more and more Star Trek references right to the end. Don't make this our life now. No!
Yeah, what if it's a 5-year mission? Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely way to leave these characters, but as we've said, I think we're only leaving them for now. I think we will see them again.
I think it's so easy to see animation again. It's a lot easier than live action to me, and I've been so surprised if this was the end of it.
To me, it was that moment when we saw them, when they did, when they left that open with the portal. I think that was the moment for me. It's like, oh no, you're coming back. Like, something that you've not announced yet. I genuinely think they don't leave that there if they didn't know they were going to go back, because it's sort of like, as I say, fucks with continuity too much.
Yeah,
it does. Always been there.
You've got to deal with it, haven't you?
I mean, and I know they can do it in a comic book or something. Maybe they are hedging their bets, but it just felt like they knew. They know they've been given a green light for something.
Comic books are too expensive. I'm sorry. I'd love to be able to keep up with all of them, but I can't.
They set up please. New series, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine 2 with the Starbase AT and a Star Trek Cerritos shoe.
Yeah, no other saying.
Sorry, I thought I was relating to what you were saying, Jim. Sorry.
No, no other saying. Yeah, effectively, we could have 2 spin-offs here. We could have Starbase 80, a DS9 style show, and we could have a Cerritos show. I have a feeling they will all come back together again, but we'll find out. So shall we move on then to Christmas presents?
Well, let's just
which
say
is,
a big salute to Cerritos. Thank you.
yes,
Yeah,
For a
thank
comedy
you.
show, you
That
brought
has
so much
been-
heart to Star Trek.
It has
absolutely.
been a lot of fun and a great addition to the franchise.
And
I never thought we'd get the opportunity to have so much fun from in jokes for Star Trek. Not us being taken the piss out of,
Yeah,
but jokes that we get like that mean a lot to us. And like, oh fuck, they're referencing that thing. I never thought that would ever be brought back into Star Trek, and they made it canon. They made it really cool in a way. This thing was lame when we first saw it, or if it was just shouldn't really work. You know, bring it back.
And I think it's worth saying as well that, you know, we started by talking about people on the internet who make a career out of moaning about Star Trek and arguments within the fandom. This show, more so than any of the others we've had, probably since TOS, has been, I think, universally embraced by the fandom. I have never met anyone who hates Lower Decks, you know, and I think that's quite an achievement in the modern era.
I've met people who haven't watched it because it's animation and they're not into animation.
Yeah.
But then you talk them into watching it and they watch it and they think, bloody hell, why have I not been watching that? And they really enjoy it, which has been a great thing about the show.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, yeah, it's only people who are reluctant to see it because it's an animation. But if you can get them over that hump just to watch one episode, you know, you're going to get them.
And they're hooked.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, Dr. Squee, explain what we're doing with this Christmas feature of the show, our annual feature of the Christmas edition.
Our annual feature. It's a Christmas edition, so I usually come up with some bollocks for us to do something kind of fun, Christmassy themed around Star Trek. So we've done Christmas episodes, which we might have, you know, seen. 1 year, I think we did what present we'd give what character in Star Trek. This year, I thought because we're about to do the Juris Brothers storyline. The Son of Moog, Sons of Moog storyline, and they're a double act in Star Trek. We'd give presents to, like, what present would we give to two people, like a pairing from Star Trek, and it could be romantic, it could be friends, it could be frenemies, like whatever. So who wants to go first? I'll save mine till last.
Oh well, that's narrowing it down. I mean, I'll go first if you want, because I picked the recently introduced Garak and Bashir from the alternate universe, and this is partially inspired by something I got for Christmas. I got Pandemic Legacy Season 2, the board game. Now, let me explain. For anyone who's not played Pandemic, Pandemic is a game where you have a big map of the world and you turn over cards every time, simplifying it. So any board game geeks out there, you know...
So, Gav, if you're watching...
don't at me. I apologize if this is not 100% accurate. So you turn over various cards and it infects various cities on the map. With these little cubes that represent diseases, and you have to move your pieces around and cure the diseases. And you also collect cards, and you need so many cards to actually cure a disease. And the object of the game is that you have to cure all 4 diseases. That's regular Pandemic. But then they did a version called Pandemic Legacy. And for anyone who's not played a Legacy game, and board game geeks, again, don't at me if I don't describe this well. A Legacy game, basically...
We could have a Legacy in Star Trek. We could
have a Legacy in Star Trek. But a Legacy game is a game that changes every time you play it. So you'll play the first game, and it'll just be the regular version of the game. And then at the end of that game, you might have like an envelope that you have to open or a little box, and it'll say, right now in your next game, these rules have changed and this has changed, and you need to do this now that you didn't have to do before, and we're introducing this element to it. And Pandemic Legacy is set over a year, so you play one game for each month unless you lose, and then you can replay it, which we had to do a lot.
I've played games of Trivial Pursuit at Christmas, which feel like each round takes a month.
Yeah. So I got Pandemic Legacy Season 2 for Christmas because we've just finished Pandemic Legacy Season 1. But Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is what I'm getting Garak and Bashir. And the reason for this is, first of all, they're a nice couple. They'll enjoy playing a board game together. But the themes of it really work for both of them. First of all, it's a pandemic one. So Bashir can run around curing diseases. That's exactly his cup of tea. He loves that sort of thing. Garak, though, and slight spoilers for Pandemic Legacy Season 1, as you progress through the game, elements of conspiracies start to come in. And people that you thought were allies might turn out to be enemies. And there's definitely something clandestine going on that you didn't expect. So I think that would also play really well to Garak's interest and Garak's strengths. And also, I can imagine them having massive arguments because it's a cooperative game. You're meant to work together, but I could imagine them having massive arguments about what strategy they want to take and how they want to deal with it. So that would be my present.
And it's a co-op game, and I still think Garak would cheat, which would annoy Bashir. And Bashir would love the admin of putting the board game together. I think he'd be great at that. He's the guy who'd read all the rules.
Absolutely.
And then Garak would read them all. Well, he would have read them all the night before and studied them so he can break them all like in playful ways.
And also
leave clues though, because he knows that like he wants to annoy Bashir, so he's got to make sure Bashir knows he's broken the rules as well.
And also, it can be played with 2 players. But ideally, it's a 4-player game, so why not have Miles and Keiko come over and they can enjoy time, all 4 of them together?
I was going to say, yeah, because like I was going to ask you who they'd bring round for couples board game night. But I mean, surely Miles would just make some excuse why Keiko couldn't make it, or she will have already, and he'll just bring Julian from another universe.
No, I reckon Garak always engineers it so that Keiko can come round because he knows that'll wind up Bashir and O'Brien. So I think Garak always ensures that Keiko's there. Yeah, I think
he's a bit jealous of their friendship. Perfect.
I think he would enjoy that so much more than Keiko not being there. He'd be the only one who enjoyed it, including any potential viewers. But I think Garak would like that.
As Garak is getting up to offer, anyone want to put more tea? How about you, Butch? Sorry, what was that? Nothing. He's just really catty to Keiko every time she comes round.
Maybe, I don't know. I reckon maybe he's really nice to Keiko. Like he makes out like he really likes Keiko, and Bashir and O'Brien are just really uncomfortable with it. Like, and Garak's like, no, Keiko's a lovely woman. Bashir's like, I know you don't mean that, Garak.
I think he goes out of his way to make sure he's got all the sushi sorted and everything. And he's got the best tuna in. And
yeah, and he goes like, sorry, no, I don't have a problem with Keiko, darling. I'm sorry. Do you have an issue with like trying to like?
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Yep. So that's me.
Well, you put a lot more thought into that than I did.
Okay, you're going to be the sandwich because I really went big.
Right. All I've got is I just think it'd be really nice to send Damar and our old friend Goldie Cat on a nice holiday to the Stark Beer Fest in Munich.
Do they serve Canar at the beer fest? Because I think they'd enjoy that.
They serve wheat beer and you get absolutely plastered on it.
What do you think the conversation's going to get like after a few drinks?
Oh, I imagine, yeah. If we're imagining a version where it's Decat and Damar and they're still alive, but they've had all the experiences, that we saw them have. I think that could be quite good. Like, so how did you get on when you were in charge of Cardassia? Well, I did this.
I'm thinking the period before they joined the Dominion, when they were just running away from Cardassia. So you had them on the. So this is the time when they're pretending to be nice and they're on the Klingon bird of prey together, flying about the galaxy.
Yeah.
I wanted bested friends.
I kind of like the idea if it's them from right at the end. They both got the memories of everything that happened, like, including Damar turning towards the resistance against him. And it just, and of course, Damar knowing that Picard went to evil. And they just sat there really awkwardly with their steins, just I just can't. And just just in silence, just getting drunker and drunker.
And so which Wayun was your least favourite?
Okay. Or which one was your favorite? Or which Wayun died? Was your favourite when he died? How he died?
Breaking his neck was pretty satisfying.
Exactly. Oh, you'd like to be a fly on the wall, wouldn't you, with that conversation? So. Dr. Squee, what have you got?
So, I've got for Spock and Kirk, and it's the orb of festivities and fantasies.
Oh,
and I said I gave it to them. I got this from the Bajorans. They said, "Who? Never mind, you'll find out later." They open it up, and at some point, much like the Nexus, Harry Mudd's entered the orb, and he just lives there now, a la Guinan. And if you remember from the first time we saw an orb experience, you had Dax and Cisco were right next to each other, but they saw completely different things.
Yeah,
that's how this one works as well. So first of all, we'll go through what Spock sees. Harry Mudd goes, "Well, fellow my lad, just enjoy this. There you go," because he's not the murderous one. He's the kind of nice, jolly.
He's the nice one, yeah.
Folksy one, yeah. And suddenly, right in front of Spock is a load of Mudd androids, but as different members of the Enterprise crew. And as he goes along them, and I have to consult my notes here. First of all, it's Kirk. He answers everything straightforward, and there's no calls to HR needed. McCoy rants like McCoy until Spock says, "Doctor, that is logical." Then McCoy wheezes himself and apologizes to Spock for his tiny human brain, which is a la Mudd's women when his wife nags him and he tells her to shut up. See, enjoy. Got Chekhov gives a speech on command about all the inaccuracies in his claims about what was invented in Russia. He's accurate now. And Spock feels a lot better for it. Scotty gives accurate timescales and sticks to them. Sulu, pretty much the same. Spock's cool with Sulu. He really likes him. And then Uhura and Chapel, with what we know from Strange New Worlds, that's between Spock and them. Meanwhile, at the exact same moment, because they, as I say, they see different things each, Kirk, green women, an absolutely shit ton of green women, all Mudd's green women, just everywhere, and you don't need to know anything more about that. And afterwards, when the orb closes and they're back there in the same room which they started, they high five each other, give each other a huge bear hug, and never talk about it ever again. That's my Christmas present to them.
And what was that orb called?
The orb of fantasies and festivities.
That sounds a much better orb than any of the ones we got in the actual show. They were always a disaster when they got an orb in the show. That you found
time reality.
The good orb.
It feels like they were like the stones from
Infinity Stones.
Yeah, it's like they all had like time, space, reality. So
they
festivities
did,
and frivolities, like altering. It's kind of the Loki of the Infinity Stones, if you will.
Yeah.
Or the orbs in this case. I just thought it'd be really, It was once I had the Muds androids idea, it all just fell into place, really. I just love the idea. It's like, yeah, that was the best experience of my life. Would never fucking
whatever
mention
happened
this
to
anyone.
The one as well, I like that. Like they're both like, I wonder. Kirk could be like, I wonder if Spock saw the same thing I did.
Yeah.
No.
And it's like, it's perfect for them because, yeah, they will remember always, you know, even though they will never speak of it again, they remember that like happy time that was spent somehow together, but they both got exactly what they wanted and didn't have to worry about what the other one wanted being so abhorrent to them.
You know what? Get on to them Roddenberry archive people, and they'll probably make that into a film.
It couldn't be worse. I don't know why. How many people lost their shit for that this year? I'm like, did I see the same thing as you did?
I've seen loads of stuff saying, it's one of the best Star Trek things I've ever seen.
Oh, what a perfect goodbye. Finally, we got the Spock Kirk goodbye we always need. No, we didn't. From that,
No,
we already got it.
It was actually really off. It was really bad.
Yeah, and considering we got Robin Curtis back in the fold in this, and I'm so disappointed. It's like there aren't many things you could do with her appearing where I wouldn't at least be going like, wow, at least they brought her in and her back in. But there's nothing about the way they used her.
Yeah, it was
very odd. But if you like it, and that's great. But that one is not canon, going back to the discussion at the start of the episode.
And it's on the naughty list.
Yeah,
yes. So we'll wrap up there then, where we're taking a week off of Christmas / New Year. But we will be back, and we're going to start looking at the Sons of Moog, Worf, Klingon, Duras, all of that good stuff.
To fill a gap for a few weeks while we wait for the Section 31 movie.
Section 31 movie is on its way, which, fingers crossed, I'm still not blown away by what I've seen, but we'll see.
Yeah. I still don't feel like we've seen what the plot is. I
don't think we have.
Well, in a way, I hope we haven't seen what the plot is. So there's too many things come out nowadays that you know what's going to happen before you see it.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
But I just want to go to old school like trailers where you got like, here is the plot line description. That's it. Like, I don't need to see the whole film, but I want to see enough that I get excited about it. Like something to whet my appetite. This didn't whet my appetite. This trailer was just like a lot of like pithy one-liners, and I trailers like that always make me so nervous. Like, well,
yeah,
you not trust the plot enough to tell us anything about it.
Well, let's hope. But anyway, we'll wrap up there then. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Well.
In the meantime, you can get in touch with us. We are at RetrekPod on Blue Sky. We are retrekpod@gmail.com.
Should I say those in the opposite direction? Sorry.
I apologise. And we're on all the socials, including Retrek Model Studios on YouTube.
Which I'm getting closer and closer to starting back up. As you can see behind me, the room's getting closer to finish. There's more things on walls, etc.
There's toolboxes. I can see many toolboxes. That feels like workshop.
Exactly. And Dr. Squee, what have we got going on the Dr. Squee show?
Guys, please join me and Jim here. We're going to be talking about the books of Twin Peaks. We've covered all the TV shows, so we thought, what could be more festive than talking about Twin Peaks books? And I made a fresh cherry pie just for the occasion, and we're going to be giving our pitches, which I'm really looking forward to, about what we think a third Twin Peaks series would look like from our warped and twisted minds. Oh, and can I just also, just before we wrap up, just thank you to everyone who's kind of commented this year as well, because this is the last show of the year. Some people have kind of interacted with us loads of times. Scurby, we've got Jodie, of course. Just everyone. It makes show just even more fun to have those kind of questions which we wouldn't have thought of. And takes
absolutely, we
the new
do
direction with
appreciate
the
it.
show.
Yeah, I mean, it's where, it won't surprise anyone to learn, we do this for fun. This is not
We are
any
not
kind of
making-
money-making venture.
Oh no.
But,
We lost money
and,
on it, if anything, but in a loving way of buying, like making our own merch
anything,
and
yeah.
stuff, which we enjoy. But like, we're not
But
complaining.
well,
but
that's it. This is a fun hobby, and the fact that anyone wants to share in that with us is just
Yeah.
fantastic. So thank you very, very much,
And-
everyone
and
who's
also
listened all year.
and our Star Trek family and people we met at Destination Trek and all the events we've gone to representing this very show. So it means the world to us all. Sorry to interrupt your wrap up.
No, of course. And thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Goodbye and Happy New Year.
Happy Dragoffmas Sweetos roll. Engage the core.
Fascinating.
Oh no, wasn't the